we'll just basically kind of go over what we are just talking about a little bit too. But yeah, man, so it's sick. So what part of Florida did you say you were from again?
Fort Lauderdale.
Or he's not where he's from, where he's living.
Oh, no, it's not where you're from, where you're living. But how do you like it down there? I think I've been down there a few times, go to the beach.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's awesome. It's sunny every day. It's like 80 degrees. I heard it's snowing up in Atlanta, so I'm like, yep, my parents still live there. I'm like, nah. So, yeah, I love being in South Florida. A ton of entrepreneurs, a lot of wealth, opportunity, and just a good environment to be in. So I love it down here.
Heck yeah. It looks like you got a sick podcast set up back there too.
Yeah, I got the fancy wall for Zooms, YouTube, and all that. So yeah, we got the 3D art, my little lightsaber.
Is that a lightsaber?
It's just a light, but it kind of looks like it. I can wave it.
I like that.
It's like Darth Maul over here, or Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. So all right, let's get into it. So today we got Ryan Huber on, a stud entrepreneur, real estate investor. So Ryan, if you want to give us a little intro of yourself and kind of talk about how you got started.
Yeah, sure. So kind of like what I was telling you guys, I guess I'll start from high school. I always wanted to be a pilot, wanted to be involved in aviation, got my private pilot's license when I was 18. Went to school to an aviation university, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach, and went there for a year, studied aviation business. I had a scholarship, but I was still paying a lot of money to go there. And I said, okay, what's the best return on my investment? Or, I really didn't want to come out of college and be 6 figures plus in student loan debt and just end up at some 9-to-5 job. So for me at that time, I said it would be best to go to an aviation trade school, try and get all my pilot ratings and build a career in that. And then if I wanted to continue the degree later. So I ended up becoming a professional pilot when I was 19, became a flight instructor, started flying private jets for a charter company in Scottsdale, Arizona. And then about a year later, got on with a private jet operator over in Cairo, Egypt, which was a really cool opportunity. And I spent the last 3 years over in Cairo, Egypt on a rotational schedule, working 6 weeks in Egypt and then 6 weeks at home. For the last 3 years, which was really cool. Got to travel the world, do a lot of cool stuff, make good money. But I had a lot of off time. So I had 6 weeks at a time, half the year where I was off at home with all this time on my hands. I also had a lot of spare time just over there between flights where I was sitting in Egypt, not doing anything. And I said, okay, either I can be kind of destructive and spend money and just hang out, or I can do something productive. And I've always been very entrepreneurial, wanted to start a business and ultimately build wealth for myself and my family down the road. And so I came across wholesaling real estate. I was looking at different business models that I could potentially start. And my mom's a real estate agent for Mark Spain in Atlanta. So I kind of knew a little bit about real estate from her and knew real estate was probably the best vehicle to build wealth possible. So I said, how can I get started? I don't have much capital. That's what led me to wholesaling. I ended up buying a course from a guy, Jalen White, who was he helped Alex Saenz in the early days get started. Mm-hmm. And Jalen's not wholesaling now, but I bought his course for like $300, implemented it, started cold calling, building lists, talking to sellers, got a VA cold calling for me on Mojo Dialer at the time.
Hey.
And just, said, okay, I'm going to consistently market until I get a deal. I'm just not going to stop. And I had a friend who was in the business doing some deals, and he said, don't stop until you get 100 leads, and then you can evaluate and kind of see what the issue is. He said, until you get 100 leads, you don't have enough leads to really evaluate, what it might be, whether it's your sales skills or the leads are bad, the list is bad, so don't quit. And I just kept going, and I think it was like lead 74 that I got my first deal under contract. It was a condo in Chandler, Arizona. I was doing virtual in the Arizona market to start with. I remember I was just in my boxers in my hotel room at like 2 a.m. I was in Cairo and going back and forth with this guy. And it was kind of funny because I think we talked on the phone. He wanted like 115, and then I was like, trying to mess with him. So I sent him a contract for 110, and I was like, I'm just going to send him a contract for less than what he wants and see if he signs it. He's like, I wanted 115, not 110. And I'm like, 112, 113. And then finally,
just keep going back.
I think I ended up giving him the 115 and then kind of used a realtor friend of mine in Arizona to help find the buyer because I had no idea really. I kind of knew how to find buyers, but not really. and he ended up finding the buyer for me. We JV'd on the deal. I made $4,000, but really didn't know much of anything. I didn't even know what a HUD statement was. So I was like, I think the buyer requested to see the HUD, and I was like, "What's a HUD, man?
What's
like
the HUD statement?
Is this deal gonna fall through? Like, what's going on? What's the HUD?" Like, no, man, that just shows all the money. I was like, "Oh, okay, sure, I guess we can do that, right?" And he's like,
we'll figure that out.
I was like, "All right, cool." So anyway, I made $4,000 on my first deal, and then just implemented that back into marketing, and just kept going. And I ended up. I had a friend at the time who was kind of helping me and going after a lot of leads on Craigslist just for sale by owners. And we were going after a lot of for sale by owners in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because at the time, I mean, even still now, Phoenix is ultra competitive, but I was kind of scared of it. And I was like, oh man, Phoenix is so hot. Like maybe we go next door to Albuquerque. Maybe they've got some deals. And we found that it was pretty easy to get deals in Albuquerque, but there wasn't nearly the investor pool in Albuquerque as there was in Phoenix. So we did some deals over there. Did probably 4 or 5 deals in Albuquerque over the next 2 months. And then after that, I was kind of like, okay, well, Phoenix is really competitive. It's hard to find sellers, but easy to find buyers. Albuquerque, it's harder to find buyers, but easy to find sellers. And I don't know anything about Albuquerque. So I'm like, why am I even there? And then I was thinking, because I was over in Egypt, and I was like, why not Atlanta? Because I grew up there. It seems like a market that's kind of in the middle. And then that was a sweet spot for me over the last 2 years, was Atlanta. I've done some stuff in Florida, Texas, tried some nationwide PPC stuff that kind of went well, but had some struggles with it. But yeah, just built a virtual business and just kind of kept going over the last 2.5 years, and was able to do multiple 6 figures my first year, and then about 550 in 2021 revenue. And most of that was all while I was doing this pilot job over in Egypt, flying and just doing it on the side. So it was pretty cool to be able to do. And I think it shows that you really can do this business from anywhere, even if you're in the Middle East and Africa. Possible. So
it's crazy.
There's a way to do it no matter where you're at.
For sure.
I like that.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, that's big. I think there's 2 things I want to hit on. Is one, I think getting 100 leads before you reevaluate your first 100 leads. I think that's key. I think that's a really good advice right there for anyone starting out. And then 2 is you were flying for a billionaire. Did you get any good insight or learn any cool things from this guy? Just from these guys a billionaire for a reason. So
yeah, definitely. The billionaire question first. I got some insights from him. He didn't speak the best English, so he was kind of not really a small talk guy. So I pretty much was more just kind of polite to him. It was really cool just to see that lifestyle, and it was just wild to see that level of wealth firsthand and understand that that's even possible. Because the guy I was flying for, he had 2 airplanes. Each of them were $65 million a piece.
True.
And then he had, resorts along the Red Sea. He was involved in government. Had a tile company exporting to 105 countries, and just an insane level of money and wealth. And this, he had a Bugatti, yacht, Monte Carlo, just ridiculousness. Everything you think of, he had. But I'd say one crazy insight I had is, money doesn't buy happiness for sure. This guy had a ton of wealth, but he didn't seem like the happiest guy. So that was kind of a big takeaway for me, because I've been so money driven my whole life that I think that's a big takeaway is you can have it all, but your happiness isn't derived completely from that. But yeah, it was really cool to see that firsthand.
Sure. Yeah, that's crazy. That's just a whole nother level. You start talking those numbers. But okay, so you started Jalen White, right? So you started wholesaling. And I know I saw him on Max's, Max saw him way back when they were doing some collabs. So I saw Jalen, and I saw how he helped Alex Signs. What big things was he teaching on that course? I know direct to seller, you're talking about. What are some big things? Has it changed at all? What you do now in your business, or is it?
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing that I learned was cold calling. That was his primary marketing stream. So his big thing was Filipino cold callers, cold calling with Mojo Dialer, using Podio for lead management. And that's the basic system that I implemented and used. And, yeah, I used Mojo Dialer for maybe a little less than a year, and then I went to an all-in event, and they kind of roasted Mojo Dialer and Call, and I was like, all right, maybe I can switch to Zen-Call, and Zen-Call is better, but it comes with its own quirks. But yeah, really just a basic understanding of cold calling, how to do acquisitions and talk to sellers, what questions to ask. And pretty much just the basics, nothing too advanced or high level, but it got me in the game and then starting to do deals.
For sure.
Yeah. Now, how long from like when you bought that course for like $300 to when you got your first deal for the 4K? Like what was that timing like? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of grinding late nights and stuff.
Yeah, so I think I bought the course sometime in 2018, and I wasn't consistent on my marketing or consistent with it at first. So it probably took me like 6 months before I actually committed to the business model, which I think is so important. And kind of to touch on your question about the 100 leads is like, if you really want to succeed in this business or in anything, you really have to commit and have daily actions every single day. I think consistency is so important because if you just like call on the weekends or when you feel like it, or, you're not going to get anywhere. So I think, consistent lead flow, consistently calling sellers every day or talking to people every day is the only way to make it happen. And that's kind of what I realized because I like dabbled around. I mean, even before that, like I was putting up bandit signs in 2017, but it was just so inconsistent that it didn't do anything. Like I'd go out one weekend and be like, oh, I'm going to do some real estate deals today, and like throw up some bandit signs, maybe get one call, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't work. And then I'd go fly and do my day job. And then but like finally in 2019, I was like, okay, I need to commit to this and just go for it. And that's when I consistently started cold calling myself. I quickly brought on a VA just to call for me while I was flying and stuff. But I was talking to sellers every day, whether it be a new lead that came in or a follow up. I wanted to talk to somebody and put out a touch to a seller every day, and then get those 100 leads before I evaluated. So I think, because I've seen so many people, they get in, they spend like $2,000 on marketing, they get some leads, or they buy a list, they call it for a little while, and they get so close, but they don't actually get anywhere because maybe they called 50 people, they got 50 no's, and then they give up.
Yeah.
But it's like number 51 or number 68, that might have been your guy, and then that could have been 15 or 20 grand that you missed out on. So keep going, and like unless if you have like 500 leads and you've called them all, followed up for like a year and you haven't got anything, then okay, maybe there's something going on here. But if you have like 50, 70 leads, then that's not really enough of a pool to evaluate and say, yes, this works, or no, it doesn't.
Exactly.
I think that's big. So you hired like a cold caller kind of like out the gate, because since you had like, a solid job, you're able to.
Yeah, so I had a good job, and I hired a cold caller almost right away. I think I cold called myself for like a week, and then I was like, okay, I kind of understand this. I feel like I can outsource it. And then I did some cold calling as well, a little bit like to learn the dialer while they were doing it. But yeah, I hired a cold caller for like 20 hours a week, right out the gate from the Philippines, $5.50 an hour. And she was with me for like a year and a half, and then I got all my referrals for my whole cold call team through her. So it worked out really well. But I just found her on drawing a blank here, but
Upwork.
Upwork. Yeah. I got her on Upwork, and then she referred me to a bunch of people, and then got a bunch of Filipino cold callers through her. Nice. So it worked out.
That's awesome. So like you JV, you said you guys went to Albuquerque and did all that, like you saw, and then when you settled into Atlanta, like what was kind of like the turning point for you, kind of your business, is when you went to Atlanta and kind of got dialed into one place?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Just consistent marketing in one place, and especially a place that I knew and was more familiar with. So I found a sweet spot in Atlanta for sure, because I had lived out in Phoenix at the time for like maybe 2 years, but I wasn't as familiar with Phoenix, and I was gone a lot flying. So I knew Phoenix, but not super well. But I had a lot of contacts in Atlanta, like knew a lot of the neighborhoods and grew up there. And then I just thought it would be a kind of a happy medium as far as market demand between Albuquerque and Phoenix. And I was like, let's try Atlanta. And then it worked out. And almost I'd say 80% of my deals are in Atlanta. So yeah.
I'm curious about how, like, you're flying full time and also growing this at the same time. So like being able to systemize and delegate things out. Yeah, that's a pretty impressive feat. So like, how did that kind of work?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would consider myself like, it's like some people have trouble delegating. I think I over delegate, to be honest, or like too much trust in people. So I kind of fall the opposite end of the spectrum. But yeah, I started with one VA. I had her generating leads, and then I'd call leads, and then brought on some more VAs to up the lead flow. And then I had like a kind of an acquisitions partner at the time doing the Albuquerque stuff, and then we split off. And then I brought my dad on as an acquisitions manager for the better part of 2 years, and he was doing a lot of my acquisitions and was kind of my boots on the ground in Atlanta. So I had him. And then I promoted a VA from a cold caller position to like an acquisitions VA, and had her doing that. And that was pretty much it. And then I would just manage the transactions and the dispo, do a little bit with acquisitions, but tried to bring myself out of acquisitions. And that was mostly it. And I had a guy in Fort Lauderdale as well that was acquisitions.
Nice.
Heck yeah.
And just sourcing out the revenue generating task. Like, so you said you had like 6 weeks off at a time, and then you have breaks like during the flights and stuff. Like, so I guess like you had like besides maybe the day or whatever you're flying, you kind of had a decent amount of time. It sounds like I don't know. I could be all wrong completely.
Yeah. So like we would fly 2 or 3 days a week. So we might have a flight to France from Egypt, and then that would kind of take up the majority of the working day. But then with the time change, I could land in France. And if it was like, 9 p.m. over in France, it was 3 p.m. on the East Coast. So I could, talk to people or get dials in. Same thing with Egypt, 6 hours from the East Coast, I think 9 hours from the West Coast. So the time change kind of helped. But then, I just had a lot of downtime. So, I mean, it was kind of hard because like I like to wake up early, but I kind of to train myself, like wake up later or like do other tasks in the morning. And then I'd be up late and just like calling people through the night over in Egypt. But
for sure, we got Big Eddie in here.
Eddie, the man. I like that. That's a crazy. I bet you lived a crazy life for a little bit, just like traveling everywhere, flying 2 times a week's a lot.
Yeah, so it was pretty nice. But it was also really cool. So
yeah, exactly.
Do you ever fly through like a thunderstorm or anything crazy?
What question is that?
Around thunderstorms, we try not to fly through the thunderstorms, but
they go right to it, Chandler.
Yeah,
I know, just straight through it, man. I'm just kidding.
Anyone watching, you guys have questions, leave them. Start asking some questions in here. But so, Ryan, what does your team look like today? Because we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I've kind of phased out of the wholesaling business model a couple months ago. So, I mean, to be honest, it just kind of got to my mental health a little bit and became a little bit too overwhelming. I did some really good months like Q3 and towards the end of last year. And then it's always been a dream of mine to open up my own aviation company. So that's something I'm on now. So I'm trying to take the money from that and implement it into this new business. But it's called Blackout Aviation. It's a private jet charter brokerage. So we source private jet flights for any kind of wealthy client that's looking for a private jet trip. And then the ultimate goal with that is to build out our own fleet of private jets to charter out to people and do aircraft management, aircraft sales, kind of be the one-stop shop for anything private jets. So that's what I'm currently working on.
So what does that business model look like? So right now, like you don't have the jet, so you're like wholesaling jets. Time pretty much.
It's very similar. It's kind of funny because I was, wholesaling, and then I talked to the owner of this charter brokerage maybe 2 months ago, And the business model is very similar to wholesaling real estate, because basically you find a operator, a charter company that does have a jet, and they'll give you a quote on a trip, and it might cost you $20,000 for a trip.
Mm-hmm.
You can put on a fee to the client and then charge the client as the end buyer. So it's almost like wholesaling jet trip.
Gotcha,
So,
it is.
It's like drop shipping,
kind of like
all that combined.
Shipping, wholesaling, so it's the same thing, because as a client, there's every charter company around the United States might have 3 airplanes, 5 airplanes, and they're constantly moving all over the country. So just because the companies in Atlanta, all their jets might be in New York, or they might be in Las Vegas for a UFC fight or something.
Yeah.
Constantly moving, so it takes different softwares and people to know where the jets are, and then you're kind of talking to all these different companies trying to see where the airplanes are, and that's where the broker comes in handy for the client, and then you're able to source them different trips, give them quotes, and you tack on a fee. Usually it's about 10 to 12%. So a standard trip might be like 20 grand. You tack on a $2,000 or $2,500 fee, and then sell a jet trip to them. So it's very, very similar to wholesaling in a way.
I like that. That's pretty cool.
That's crazy. So yeah, it's basically still like a marketing and sales business, because other people
Every
are
business,
yeah, very much. So a lot of marketing. We just started PPC on the jet charter business today. So running up some PPC campaigns and just doing a lot of organic outreach to our network and stuff, trying to build up a client base. But yeah, very much just marketing and sales and branding for sure.
Heck yeah.
for sure.
The piece I kind of want to talk on too is a little bit like, if you feel comfortable going into, is like the mental health side. Like,
yeah,
I think that's a thing that a lot of people overlook, and I think it's pretty valuable to talk about.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think just systems and the right people in your business are so important. And that's one or two things where I think I lacked and could have been better. I think my systems were sloppy. I didn't have the best people in the right seats, and it kind of just put a lot of pressure on me. And like, no business is easy. Of course, you're going to have struggles. And I guess it just depends on, what you want to do. And ultimately, I think you have to be passionate about what you're doing, or have a goal aside from just the money at the end of the day. Because if money's your primary goal, I think you can kind of get lost in that. So I think having good company core values, or like a strong why behind what you're doing, is really important. And so, yeah, for me, it just kind of got overwhelming to the point where I wasn't sure I wanted to do it anymore. And I had some good months and then did well, but it's always been a dream of mine to open an aviation company. I said, why not now? Let's try it out and see what happens. But I don't ever plan on being completely out of real estate, because I want to invest in buy and hold properties, multifamily, and be more of a passive, like, cash buyer investor down the line. But as far as like actively wholesaling, it's a great business model. You guys do it. A lot of people, obviously the viewers are doing it. I have done it, but it comes with its own challenges. So I guess it just depends on the person and, what your goals are.
Yeah.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart. So like, what are some things, like some of the lessons of people being in the wrong seats that you learned? Like, did you because obviously you learned from it, and you're probably going to do different next time. So like, what could some people take?
I would say, be slow to hire, be quick to fire. You hear that a lot, but it's true. I think I hired people a little too quickly and put a little too much trust in them. And then if you have a gut feeling that the person's not doing the right job or not doing what they're supposed to do, your gut feeling is probably correct, and you should probably get rid of them. It's hard to do sometimes, and you want to see the best in people. I sometimes think I'm an over optimist. So I'm like, oh, they're doing good, or, it's just going to take them a little longer. And I'm like,
exactly.
No, yeah, probably not. But
shut it off.
Yeah. So that's a good lesson to learn. You got to be really, really careful about who you bring on. I think that's huge. And then just also just being very adamant about KPIs and SOPs, and really holding people accountable. Because I think the more you can dumb it down and say, like, this is the nitty gritty, what you need to do every single day, and what the expectations are of you, and then what you can expect from me. If you set those expectations up front, then it's a lot better than just kind of giving somebody vague description of what needs to happen, and then like what needs to happen, but maybe they don't know, and there's a disconnect, and then they're not performing at their 100%.
Yeah,
Sure.
and like definitely, if like we were just talking, like me and you, Ryan, and you're like telling me to do something, I'm gonna hear like 30% of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like if you don't write it down, it's not gonna all get done.
yeah,
So
definitely.
Sure. Yeah,
that's
we got a question
the
too
my
here,
assumption.
Chandler.
Oh yeah,
From Ryan.
Ryan, Greg, how many texts can you send a day on launch control, including follow-ups and initial text? Ryan, it depends on, per one account, we can send about 1,200 texts a day total, and that's the answer. Yeah,
Per one
1,200
account.
text per one account.
So if you want to send more, just get 4 accounts, 3
Yeah,
accounts.
exactly.
Right.
So that's otherwise you're just gonna get marked as spam like pretty quick, and that's not fun.
Keep
So
those questions coming, boys and girls. But
yeah, for sure.
so
Ask the
Ryan,
questions and
what's
wait
the
for
goal
Ryan.
this year for that aviation company? What is your goal?
Um,
Do you have a set goal? What you're looking to do?
yeah, it's hard to give a set revenue goal right now. I would
Yeah.
like to do 2.5 to 3 million in revenue. I
Nice.
think that's pretty possible. But it's in the inception stage, so it's kind of hard to gauge exactly where those numbers are going to be.
Like
But
that.
yeah, I want to just grow it to as consistent of a business as possible, and then bring on charter brokers, kind of similar to acquisition managers underneath myself, and build out a team before the end of the year.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that
You can
too.
do that with VAs. Could you do it with VAs? It's just you're dealing with higher clientele.
Yeah, I've thought about that. So I've thought about using VAs to, I mean, there's some like tasks behind the scenes that they might be better at, but I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
a little bit hard just because I really want a high level of customer service and experience, and just like them kind of knowing different cities, the
Mhm.
intricacies of different cities in the US. So if they're talking about going to New York for the holidays, then like it's kind of hard to build rapport if they don't know like what's in New York or
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what are you going to New York for?
yeah, I'd prefer to bring on American people, but still want to use VAs and marketing or kind of behind the scenes admin tasks for sure. I think VAs are huge in any modern business.
I agree
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
And what does like the marketing process look like for that? You said you turned on Google Ads, so I assume you got like your landing pages and all that kind of stuff. Is that mostly where the stuff's coming from right now? Is Google Ads?
Yeah, so PPC I think is big, and then we're just doing a lot of like organic outreach to people on Instagram, Facebook, our personal network, and then we want to partner with different luxury service providers, like exotic car dealerships, high end like fashion shopping centers, and yacht
Heck
brokers,
yeah.
exotic car
Mhm.
rental companies, anything that's also in like the high end luxury industry where we could somehow partner. Because if somebody's renting a Lamborghini for the weekend or a yacht in Miami for the weekend, then they probably have the money to fly private. Also, just sponsoring different events. There's different private aviation events, or like the Miami Grand Prix is coming down here. There's
Oh
like
yeah, I saw that.
Miami Boat Show, Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. So we can be active in those kind of events. Just get our name out there to people. They're, if somebody's looking to buy a yacht, they're probably flying private into Fort Lauderdale to go look at
Shit.
that yacht. So just trying to
Yeah.
be around, as much wealth as possible, and connect with the right people to build long-term clients in that.
Yeah, I like
Heck
that.
yeah.
I think
That's
that's the key is
smart.
like just finding out where your clientele's at, right? It's like any business you're gonna do. It's like where your buyers or your consumers gonna be, and
Yeah,
then
definitely.
get in front of it.
Mhm.
Like what would like do you? And I'm curious too, is like because I always see these cards at these other like places that are like we do this. This is like our partnering service, blah blah blah. Like, do you give them a discount? Like, how does that service work for that guy? Because I'm assuming there's some kind of like affiliate program with them or some reason that those customers for the hotel would use this service or whatever, right?
Yeah, so that's what we're offering now is like for any referral for a private jet trip, we're offering a $500 referral for anybody that referred to the domestic trip, or $1,000 referral for anything internationally. So
Mhm.
if you guys had somebody that needed a jet, we got him a trip, we'd give you guys a $500 kickback or some kind of program like that with like a discount code for another, say an exotic car dealership, the guy refers us something, we kick him back $500 and do like $500 off for the client. So something like that is what we're working on now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. What is we've talked about it, me and Gino, getting our pilot license. What does that look like?
Yeah. So
60 hours. I know it's like average 60, 70 hours.
yeah,
Private.
60 to 70, minimum's 40 flight time. But yeah, basically you do ground instruction, and then you'll take a written exam. You pass the written exam. You do enough flights to be able to solo, and then you go on your first solo. And then once you cross off 40 hours along with a list of requirements under those 40 hours, then you can take the practical exam. And that's it's like a half oral and half a flight test. So you'll do like a 2 to 4 hour oral exam with an examiner, and then you'll do a flight test, which is about an hour and a half in the air, and you'll do different maneuvers, different landings, simulated emergencies, and stuff like that. But yeah, if you guys want to fly, I highly recommend it. It's super rewarding.
Yeah, I want to get my license for sure.
Badass little thing to have in your back pocket to be able to just go fly an airplane around. So it's really fun.
Would you ever fly like a commercial airliner? Like with that, like how much? I would imagine that'd be way more hard than like flying like
It's probably easier with all the computers and stuff they have in there.
Yeah,
like landing, I guess maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's different. Like I don't have any desire to fly an airliner. I like the private jet stuff personally.
Yeah.
But it's pretty similar. Like a private jet, the technology versus an airliner is pretty much the same. But yeah, I mean, there's more systems, but it's more automated. So there's more going on. But at the end of the day, you're doing less with your hands because it's on autopilot 90% of the time. So you pretty much manually take off, you engage the autopilot, and then you're just like an automation manager through the air, making sure it's going the right way. Nothing crazy's happening. And then before landing, you kick off the autopilot and land it. So it's a different experience than just hand flying like a Cessna or a small airplane. But yeah, I mean,
I saw you just picked up one too. What's the range in your airplane?
Yeah, so it's about 600 miles. So I can make it through Atlanta,
pretty far.
Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah,
so that's about as far as I can make it. But that's all I need it for. So like I flew up to Atlanta for Christmas to see my family. Flew up for Thanksgiving, which was really fun. And yeah, I love it. It's a fun little plane.
Where do you fly into? The Fulton County, DeKalb,
Peachtree, DeKalb. Yeah. So I'll fly in there, and yeah, it's a blast, man. So it's a little 2-seater. It goes upside down. You can whip around all kinds of shit. So it's a blast.
Dang. And you don't tell us the exact of yours, but what are those average for like aircrafts like that are pretty long distance? Because that's pretty long, 600. I mean, I guess it's not like.
Yeah, no, that's actually not a whole lot as far as range goes. So like even a Cessna or like something small,
172 or whatever, the
172 go about 500 miles. So I mean,
gotcha.
Like the plane I have isn't built for that because it's like a 2-seat. It's like a sports car in the sky. So it's not cross country stuff, but I do it anyway. I've taken it. We bought it in Oregon. A partner and I own it together. We bought it in Oregon and flew it back to Florida, which was pretty crazy.
Did you have to put bladders in it?
You mean like to pit?
Fuel bladders?
Or no, yeah.
You just stopped everywhere.
Yeah. How'd that work? Yeah. How'd you get from Oregon to Florida?
Yeah, so we did like Oregon to Northern California to Southern California, Arizona to Texas to New Orleans to like Tallahassee, and then Tallahassee to Fort Lauderdale was I think the route we flew. But yeah, it took 2 days. So better part of 2 days, and we just split the time. We were in the airplane probably like 20 hours total.
God bless.
Like, yeah, big road trip, but it was cool.
That was fun.
It's gnarly.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
What was your first flight like? Because I can imagine you're probably shitting your pants.
My first flight?
Yeah.
Solo?
Well, my first flight ever, it was funny, as I've always been into planes since I was a kid. My parents got me a flight for my 10th birthday, and they thought it would kind of scare me out of ever wanting to fly, but I loved it. So I just like hopped up in the cockpit and flew around with an instructor for my 10th birthday, and that's kind of what got me. But then my first solo flight, I wasn't that scared, to be honest, just because I was more just excited. And like once you know what to do, you're kind of ready for it. So it's just like a mix of excitement, but you're also nervous, but you're just like, hell yeah, I'm ready, and you make it happen. So it was a really cool experience. Yeah, flying a plane first time by yourself is wild.
So for your plane, like this is always my worry. Like everyone probably listening to is like when something goes wrong up there. I know my dad used to fly with some Cessnas back in his day with his uncle, but he's like, I could land this thing, I could, glide this thing to somewhere like safety. Like, are you comfortable? Like, is that how it is when I go up there? I'm like, bro, if I'm ever buying a plane, I need a parachute on that thing or something, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, you're trained to fly. The engine goes out. So yeah, you just glide to either an airport, a road, patch of grass, whatever you have available.
Yeah.
And I'd say probably from the statistics, you're better off doing that than pulling the chute. I mean, one of the only airplanes with a parachute is a Cirrus.
The Cirrus. Yeah, the Cirrus.
Yeah, so they have a parachute. But a lot of people crash Cirruses, ironically. They call them like it used to be the Bonanza, now it's the Cirrus called the Doctor Killer, just because it's mostly like wealthy people that aren't professional pilots.
Yeah, so I see, yeah.
They always get into trouble. So I mean, yeah, but
I get it because they're like, let me just get that, and then the people using it are like, let me just pull the parachute if anything goes wrong.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of crashes in them, but I mean, the chute does work. So I mean, I don't know. It's good to have a chute. I don't have a chute. I'll take my chances.
Could you get one on yours? Like, can you retrofit them?
No, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I figured.
Maybe because like it'd be an interesting regulatory experiment.
I said we great one.
Yeah, right. Retrofit it with like a rocket parachute out the top.
Yeah, shoot that thing.
But yeah.
Dude,
interesting. Yeah, I want to get into it.
I know, right? It'd be sick just to take off and like go from I live in Colorado now, so just Colorado, Utah, or to Vegas or to Atlanta. I don't know. You probably have a pretty solid plane to go that far.
Yeah.
Get the Cessna, but back to the price. What is it usually for those range? I know like the Cessna's like the 172, like what are they, like 20, 30,000? I mean, for one that doesn't have a lot of instruments on it, but like
what is normal? It's like a used one.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, you can pick up a used one from anywhere from like 60 grand up to I think a brand new one's like 400 grand now. But
really? I was way off on that.
But I mean, you can get a nice used one for 75 to 100 grand now, like a 70s model with a decent panel, decent avionics. So
nice, yeah.
So you can get some sub 100 grand.
And just finance that baby and take it off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. I like kids. We all love traveling. So, just speaking of that too, how'd you like Cairo? Because we're talking about going to Egypt with our buddy that's Egyptian.
Yeah, it's a wild place. There's a lot of history there, but it's super dense, very crowded, dirty city. So I mean, it was interesting to live there downtown. It's just very chaotic. Traffic's the worst I've ever seen in the world. Driving there, it's an absolute nightmare. But it reminds me of like I've never been to India, but it's like the tuk-tuk, like there's like no lanes in the road, like no laws, and people are just going crazy. And it's like
everyone's drinking White Claws.
Yeah, a moped with like a family of 5 on the back, and like like shit stacked on their head, and they're going through traffic. It's insane, but it's a cool place. I mean, there's a lot of history. I mean, I probably wouldn't choose it as my first place to go on vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to cross off the pyramids and see some history. I think it's cool, but it just depends on what you're into. But if you want to check it out, I can give you some recommendations for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I have to.
Did you see the pyramids? Do you think the aliens made them?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I don't know. Because I mean, the pyramids, I think they were built before the wheel was even invented, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right.
How on earth do these people drag these like 4,000-pound blocks through
it's crazy.
Up the hill to build a pyramid?
And like a perfect pyramid. Like it's like from what I understand, the measurements are.
Oh, I think we got one side like it faces north, or it's all structured out a certain way mathematically. And then there's tunnels in it and hidden chambers, and it's like I don't know, man. That's some crazy.
That doesn't make any sense to me. Something's fishy going on.
Yeah, Lewis and Clark should have gone and explored that like back then to see what really happened.
Yeah, so who knows? It's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, because you guys were in, or Gino, you were in Italy for like what, a month, or Europe for a month or two?
Yeah. I was in Italy, or excuse me, I was in Europe for 80 days. I went for 80
Oh,
days.
nice.
So I was in Italy for actually, I was for Italy for a month, I would say. And then the Spain, France, all those, the big Turkey. I went to Turkey. It was pretty chaotic too. You ever
Yeah,
been to Istanbul?
only to the airport in Istanbul. I've never, yeah,
I
been up
really, it's
there.
crazy there.
Yeah, that'd be nuts. That's wild.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, how did that affect your business? Was it smooth to operate from over there, or how was
Yeah,
that?
I mean, luckily I have Chandler there, right? So, I mean, it didn't affect our business, because I still did work a little bit, right? I didn't just go there and just hang out. My girlfriend's a TC, so
Okay.
she's like, I mean, she
Still
had to
in the
call attorneys
yeah.
still and everything and handle her
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, it was pretty good. I planned out the business pretty well in terms of like I set it up, and I wasn't even doing sales stuff anymore. I was really just sitting in the visionary spot at that time.
Nice.
Um, and now I went up and I took back the sales role just because we weren't performing as well as we wanted to. But during that time, I wasn't even, I was just pulling the visionary. So I was just, helping lead people and guide them. And so it wasn't a big deal in terms of me working. I wasn't working more than 2 or 3 hours a day max. But for sure, it was something, you learn from when you go away for the business for a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
definitely. Like, I think like disengaging is like one of the most valuable things you can do just long enough to see like where the weak points are,
exactly.
because you can see where you're overcompensating and taking too much control, and like where the team like wasn't ready. You know what I mean? They weren't. We took too much ownership of some of the things, or
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like,
Definitely. I think that's super
yeah,
important.
it really shows like the errors show up a lot more whenever you're not there, because you're not there saving it. Even
Yeah.
not that like our team's great, but you know you know what I mean, right? It's like
Yeah, you see where your weaknesses are as.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But
Chandler, you're in Colorado, you said?
yeah, I live in Denver, so moved out here in like April of last year. So I've been here like 9 months or so.
Gotcha. And then Gino, you're in Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta. That's where I'm at. I go down to actually South Florida probably once a month. I have
Yeah.
family in Jupiter.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Jupiter's sweet.
Yeah, so I go
Yeah,
on and off there, but yeah, I just enjoy it. Hopefully,
yeah,
I might
man.
move to Florida though. I'm looking at a place to move down there, maybe like Delray, maybe Jupiter.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good area. I haven't been to Delray, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. Everyone talks about Delray down here.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I just gotta get that FHA loan, so I gotta find it.
Yeah, it's a fact,
House Hackett. What the hell is going on over there, Chandler?
dude. I'm not 100% sure. I think they're remodeling a bathroom over here, man. It's just,
Perfect location for the
I know,
podcast.
right? It's I can mute myself. I'm sorry. Oh shit, y'all talk.
No, but so Ryan, the goal with that company is it to like eventually sell it, or you haven't thought that far yet?
No, I don't think I would ever sell it.
Just keep the cash flow.
Yeah, just keep the cash flow, and it'd be a passion project. I mean, maybe eventually take myself out of it and
Hmm.
implement a CEO or something, and then put that money back into real estate in the form of Airbnbs, multifamily, and some longer term investments. But yeah, aviation is just something I've always loved and wanted to be a part of. So I don't think I'll ever completely get out of it.
For sure. If you guys got any questions too, make sure to keep bringing them here. I know we got YouTube going on, we got Facebook, and we also got Chandler's YouTube on. Big Chandler.
Yes, sir. So
Perfect.
this bathroom remodeling is going on. I don't know
Keep
what
going.
is going on,
Where'd you
but
get that podcast gear though? I need to get some more podcast
yeah,
stuff.
how'd you set that up?
Yeah, these are just like 3D panels I got on Amazon, and then
Mhm.
I just have like the two-sided like sticky adhesive. I think got it from
Gotcha. Yeah.
Walmart or what a heavy duty, and just like stuck them all on the wall and just like spaced it out. So
I
it
like
looks,
that.
yeah, it's this cheap little setup, and then got this little light thing for $30 on Amazon or something too. So
I like that.
Dude,
yeah,
that's sick.
That's fresh.
yeah.
Need to get
Yeah,
me
heck
something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I need to get an office because working out of your bedroom sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Worked out of a lot of hotel rooms, so I can feel
Yeah,
that.
you know
I
how
can
that is.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So what were you guys traveling around for? And then, like, is he just going around just to talk to other billionaires and do politics and stuff like that? It's like,
Yeah, a lot of it was some of it was business travel, but a lot of it was personal travel. So he would go to the south of France a lot, go to Las Vegas a lot. The guy liked to gamble, so he
Oh
would
shoot.
do his thing. Go to London. He had some business in London, business in Italy. He'd go shopping and just go on these wild shopping sprees and stuff. So different stuff like that. But yeah, it was kind of nuts. And then a
What was
lot
the
of personal travel or religious too. He'd go to Saudi Arabia for like
Gotcha, Mecca or whatever.
yeah. So he'd do the Hajj. Yeah.
Interesting. What was the craziest things you've seen or heard or done seen on the plane?
Yeah, a few stories. We bring a lot of crazy stuff on the plane. So like crates of fish and
Oh
like
really? Yeah.
of ice and like big 50-pound crates of dates and fruits and stuff
Oh shoot.
all over the place. One time he had us bring a treadmill on the airplane.
Did you
So
guys have to load it?
yeah, so we like loaded this thing up the air
Oh
station
shit.
at this treadmill in the middle of the cabin. It was like super, not what you're supposed to do. But
Yeah.
so it Rolls Royce tires, a BMW engine, like he just bring a
Damn.
lot of wacky shit. So that was interesting. And then I flew the former president of Kurdistan to Iraq at like 3 a.m. once, and we like did a turn in Iraq in the middle of the night, and that was interesting. And then we didn't have a
The hell?
flight on that trip, so I was like serving Middle Eastern food in the back to like these Iraqi diplomats on our way to Iraq in the middle of the night, and just crazy.
What
crazy.
the heck is going on there, man?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's pretty cool story though. You did get some private money out of those guys out there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I should have pitched him a deal, but hey, man, you want to make 10% on 100K? He'd be like,
Exactly.
what is 100K? It's like
100K what? 100K diamonds?
100K what? Yeah. I didn't have a deal big enough for him. Yeah, if we weren't talking like 8 or 9 figures, he'd probably just laugh at me. He'd be like, dude, that's my fuel
That's
bill.
crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe one day or something I'll hit him up with a big
Come back and say, hey boys, you ready?
Man, you remember me? Yeah, we've got a $50 million 200-plex. You want to be a partner or something? Be like, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So
I
yeah,
love
you
that.
never know, man.
That's funny. So I think we got a question. These guys are going crazy in the bathroom. Why are you sending that on my thing? So where did your guys' turnover rate with the VAs? So for us, Chandler, I would say turnover rate's pretty minimal for us, right? Making all those noises.
Maybe like, out of the year, like, just the people who don't cut it really, no one's leaving us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we probably get like turnover rates probably like less than 10%.
And yeah, I'd say.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I would say same for my operation as well. Turnover rate was pretty minimal, maybe like 20-25%. But I had a lot of people stay for a long time, over a year, 2 years. So yeah, I think
for sure.
treat people well, and they'll hang around.
For sure. No, that's what it is. I mean, it's, again, how you treat your people is what's going to what's it called? How you treat your people is that's gonna show in how how long they stay. I see people with like I can't talk with anything right now, but I see people with high turnovers, and I see how they treat their VAs, especially they treat them like VAs. They don't treat them as people. They treat them just as a cheap labor. And those people, are always saying, "Hey, Gino, do you have any more VAs? Hey, I need to find some VAs. Any good?" Because they didn't treat those VAs they had. They didn't, either one, they didn't treat them, or sometimes you also see they just hired too fast, like we talked about earlier, and they didn't pick the right people that fit their core values.
I think another thing that goes on that, and hopefully my service is good out here. The Wi-Fi's right next to me, but I think like another thing that goes with that is also like pouring into your people and training them. Like most people genuinely want to do really good and get better. Yeah. I don't think there's a whole lot of people out there who don't take pride in their work and genuinely would hate to get better and to progress their career forward. So I think inherently most people are trying to get better. So as you pour into your team more, what happens is they are like, oh shoot, like this guy is pouring into me. Like for example, our guy Eric, he was moved from roles to roles, like from a role to another role, and like I didn't give him as much guidance and training as I could have, right? And then I was like, oh shoot, I'm underutilizing Eric, and like he can help me out a lot with taking tasks. And then once I started to pour into him, he was like, dude, Chandler, I appreciate this opportunity and like you pouring into me and like you taking all this, training and like helping me learn so much. He's like, I love it. I love, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, I appreciate all that kind of stuff. And like, I was like, oh shoot, like I didn't even realize that, it was such a big thing for people to have that advice and to have that, training and that, just room for improvement. People love that. So that's another big thing as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But
yeah, it's a big thing.
It's just like, I think like, I think Gino mentioned it, but just core values. If they all align, then, and you guys practice every day and everyone's on the right track and it's moving towards one goal, then, if you're a small company, your turnover will should be very minimal. As you get bigger, it's harder to control, but.
So Ryan, what is some of your best, for VAs? What was some of your, I guess, things you learned in training? And because I know you had VAs and you started out, what are some things you learned? Like I said, training them and treating them, I guess you could say, because a lot of people on here that will watch the recording around here now, they're starting out and they need to find VAs or they're looking at, how they should treat, all these stuff, that.
Absolutely. I would say, first off, interview a lot of people. My biggest thing was always really the quality of English, which you can pretty much tell right off the first couple minutes of talking with the person. My interviews are pretty informal. I like to see that they had previous experience in some kind of marketing role. Real estate is a big plus, obviously, if they've done the exact same role before as a cold caller for somebody else. But I think anybody with really good English can be trained or do a good job. And then with my people, I was honestly just really flexible with them because I wanted them to perform well. So I was like, look, I know you guys in the Philippines, for example, are working through the night. I know that's very hard, very strenuous. So if you only want to work 4 hours one day and then 8 hours the next day, or you need a day off to recover on sleep to perform at your best, then go ahead and do that. And all I care is, 30 hours in, Monday through Saturday, or if you want to work Sunday, then that's cool too. But just hit 30 hours or 35 hours a week. I didn't really like to go with 40 just because I thought it was too much, working through the night. But I was just, I want quality, and then kind of touching on, treating them well. The Philippines seems to have a ton of natural disasters, all kinds of crazy shit going on over there all the time. There's like typhoons, cyclones, waves, like fires, like it's nuts. Like literally every couple months, like they get hit with some crazy shit, and I'm like, oh my god, like even just recently, I think last month they got hit with a huge typhoon.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, wiped out a ton of stuff. One of my VAs I still have over there, she was struggling to find power, struggling to find a place to live, internet connection. And I was just like, hey, you're doing your best. Like, you focus on your family, your safety right now.
Exactly.
Handle that. I'm not going to be mad at you because you're not showing up to work because you're in a natural disaster zone. So I think that's really important. And then just trying to make training fun. So like if we hop on a group call and we're going over call recordings, I'd go over call recordings in a group setting. And then I'd say, say one thing that your colleague did well, say one thing that they did bad. And a lot of times they'd be nervous to do that. Or I'd jump on the phone in front of them and I'd cold call somebody in front of them. So they see me do it. So we're all in the same group and I'm not just like this, dominant leader. So it's like, hey, let's all get on the phones together. Let's round robin around. I'll cold call, live in front of you guys. You tell me what you think of me. And then I'll tell you what I think of you, but I try and lead with the positive and say, okay, you did this well. Here's what you did well. Here's what you can improve on, and try and like collaborate as a group or have them come up with ideas of like, or I'd go over a call and say like, okay, like name one thing where that call could be better. And I'd like pick a random person, or I'd kind of like popcorn around and say, give me an example of something that could be improved. And then they might be like, the tonality or like the opening, or, could have asked a better question, could have built more rapport or something like that. And then I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'd have them like, write those things down, try and implement it on the next call. And we'd go through that every week, have like a Monday meeting, and just try and create a positive environment. I think is super important.
Love that. Paco? I know, I got to look who that is. Big Paco. Let's see. But yeah, I think you're right, Ryan. Those are the things that's important, right?
Yeah,
100%.
I just like, just be Paco. Like,
That's
Hell
Big
yeah.
Paco.
I figured it'd be Big Paco. That's our man. Paco's been with us for like, what?
Nice.
Almost 2 years. So
Yeah, I would say like 2 years now.
it's been a while. He's the man. He runs the cold call ship for us. So
nice.
For sure. So Ryan, we're getting close to the end of this podcast. So how can people reach out to you?
Just at it's Ryan Huber on Instagram or TikTok, Ryan Huber on Facebook, Ryan Huber on YouTube. So if you have any questions for me, real estate, aviation, life, anything, I'm happy to help. Would love to provide value to anybody. And yeah, I would love to get in touch with any of you guys.
Heck yeah. Let's do it.
I like that.
And what's some last things you want to leave the listeners with?
I would say focus on the present, maximize the day, and be consistent in what you do, and the results will come. And
heck yeah,
about it. Yeah,
I like that.
Love that.
I like that. And go ahead. Sorry to cut you off.
I'm saying maximize the day every day, and you'll get to where you want to go.
Yeah, I like that for sure.
The truth right there.
I don't think you can go wrong if you get better every day. So appreciate that, Ryan, dude. I had a great time. So
yeah,
sure, I learned a lot, and we gonna get that pilot's license next.
Yeah, I know. I'm pumped for it. For it.
Hit me up. We'll put you in touch with an instructor in Atlanta or something. Or if you're looking to buy one, then I'm your guy. I'd love to help. But
for sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate being on here, and it's a blessing and opportunity. And I wish you guys nothing but success. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Right back at you, man.
And for everyone listening, just as we sum it up, appreciate everyone listening. Leave any comments below, like we said for Ryan. Or him will answer. And also, if you guys are in Georgia or in the Southeast, hit us up with any JV deals. We'd be love to help you sell them. And yeah, hit us up on Instagram. And out. I'm good.
We'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. See you guys.